on to bigger and better things. Apollo Crews and Big E. These two guys are peaking at the right time. They're peaking at the right time, man. So Big E pulls a bait and switch on us. I was writing down quite diligently how he looked stupid coming out in all these bandages and then ripping all the bandages off and silly smiling and all that shit. And I was like, why are you coming out here smiling? You just got killed. And then he cut the promo. And then he went in. He talked about, Apollo Crews. He talked about going biblical on Apollo Crews. Now it's time for eye for an eye. Now he got to end Apollo Crews. Pinning him ain't enough. He got to end Apollo Crews. And you can see the fire. And you can see the intensity in the man's face. And even the blemishes, because his promo wasn't perfect, right? Like there was still parts of it that was where he was still thinking through what he was saying. But that added charm to it because he's angry. Like, how many people are get really angry and you still speak perfectly? Most of the time when people get really mad, you lose your mind, right? You forget what you was at. Like, sometimes I get that's why I don't record videos when I'm angry, I do, but I'll just kind of restart it and do it over. It helps. Sometimes you just got to yell to get it out. And then you have to, take time to sort your mind out. But he's doing this on live TV with the camera stuck right to his face. He's the only one in the ring. No crowd, nothing. It's just him. And he's laying this thing out about, you take one of mine, I take two of yours. You step on my lawn, I bulldoze your house. That's how far we've gotten. He's got to flatten Apollo Crews. He's going to make an example out of Apollo Crews. And then he wants Apollo Crews to come out to fight him. He says, come on. You want the Intercontinental title? You want what I work for? You want to take what I work for? Come get it. And of course, like a true heel, Apollo Crews doesn't show up. Later on, after the show, they played, of course, they had this Twitter content where Apollo Crews says he doesn't come when Big E calls him. He said, he's a Nigerian royalty. He comes when he wants to. Big E caters to him. So Big E called, Apollo Crews a coward, basically. Said since you don't want to take the shot, you don't want the shot, I get a shot to anybody. Anybody want the shot, come down. And here comes goddamn Baron Corbin. And Baron Corbin's wearing a suit. And he's about to talk about how expensive his suit is. He's about to talk about how expensive his rings and stuff are. And I just wondered to myself, like, who decided that that's the new direction for Baron Corbin? Who decided that Baron Corbin's new gimmick is he's Ric Flair? $10,000 shoes, $5,000 watch. Like, who decided that that's the new direction for Baron Corbin? He's going to talk about how expensive his clothes are. Why is that what they got to do with being a king? Why is he a king anyway? Why is he still a king? Why can't Baron Corbin, man? Guy had tremendous potential. Now, he's one of the guys that was from NXT that a lot of people hated, too. He was like the Goldberg of NXT. I remember it. I remember a lot of people used to hate Baron Corbin. At least people used to hate Elias, too. A lot of your favorite podcasters hated Elias. These guys have some staying power. Now, it seems the guys that you really like, they have no staying power when it comes to the main roster. A lot of the guys that were overlooked, they seem to be sticking pretty heavy. Who would have thought that Big E would still be around today? Anyway, Baron Corbin wasted, or King Corbin, whatever the fuck you calling him, Corbin, wasted his own time coming out there to talk about his clothes and everything. And Sami Zayn took up the challenge. Said this would be a perfect end of his documentaries for him to win an Intercontinental title. And, of course, he starts the match and Sami Zayn loses. Of course he lost. Wouldn't make any sense for him to win. And then after the match, here comes Apollo Crews. So Big E, for some reason, turns his back to the entrance. And I guess he's expecting Apollo Crews to attack him from behind. And Apollo Crews does attack him from behind, except he didn't come from the entrance. He came from around the LED boards. And he beat him down, dropped him with 2 angle slams, and said, and his very African accent. You want to burn down my house? Burn down my house? He said, no, 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 no. All you're going to do is continue to take this beating. Then he went out there, got them steps, hit him with them steps again. Showed him the steel one more time. Big E stumbles outside the ring. And like the king, Apollo Crews takes the center of the ring. Stands on the steps. Takes the center of the ring. This is phenomenal. And they're not overcomplicating this. There are some things about it that, you know, people might not like, especially the accent. People might not like the accent. Some people don't like Big E and they don't like the promo. They didn't like Big E's promo. I personally thought it was cool. It showed the dichotomy of Big E that I've been talking about before, about how he's silly, but you know there are still times where there's a darkness inside of him, where he's trying to not play into that too much, because he's still calling himself the powerhouse of positivity. He's not trying to be a dark and brooding and character, but he's being taken there. And we see now we're going to have this little conversation about going back to your roots, right? Going back to who you really are. This is who Big E really is, right? Big E went back to his roots in this promo. What is Big E's roots? If you watch the documentary, you know Big E grew up in the church, right? Big E grew up in the church. Did he say his dad was a pastor or something like that? But Big E grew up in the church, and in this promo, he talks about going Old Testament on Apollo Crews, right? So he talks about going Old Testament on Apollo Crews, eye for an eye, you know? And that's an interesting, again, we're going, it's the mirror. It's the mirror archetype, man. They're bouncing off of each other, you know? One goes back to his roots, meaning he goes back to where his parents were, where his grandparents were. Big E goes back to his roots. He goes back to what his parents were, you know? But they're both doing so in a negative way. You know, they're both tapping into, you know, their ancestors in a very negative way. You know, both out of pride, but, you know, Apollo Crews out of pride, which is a sin, and Big E out of wrath, which is also a sin, right? But you're looking at it from the position of these two guys are at loggerheads about, not just about this title, but now they're just so similar. They can't stand each other, you know? It's not, and they're not similar as in they're from the same place, but they just operate in the same zone, you know? And as they're bouncing off of each other, they will end up having to end one another. Somebody's going to have to move. You know, like this feud is getting to the point where it's going to have to be like loser leaves town or something, you know? And you can't have they announced the match for Fastlane, but you can't have a regular old pinfall match. Like Big E said, you have to take it to the next level. I mean, he sent him home for 3 weeks. And then he came back and he beat him again with some steps. You can't make it a stairs match. That's just stupid, right? And WWE is kind of people who would do a stairs match. You probably have to do, what are you going to do, last man standing? Maybe that'd be McIntyre and Sheamus's gimmick. So maybe not. Do you do I Quit? That's very definitive. But I really don't want Apollo Crews to lose like an I Quit match or anything, right? Like, because what did he do afterwards? So you just do a cage match. You just did one of those. So what do you do? What kind of gimmick do you have for these guys? I don't know. Iron Man. I probably wouldn't do nothing like that. You know, it has to be. Is it going to be something brutal that they can barely survive? It would have to be like a submission match or an I Quit match or something, you know? A dog collar match, or, you know, you probably wouldn't put a Nigerian prince in a dog collar match. You probably wouldn't do that. A strap match, or probably not. Nothing that would probably be better, you know, suited for people being choked or anything. So I don't know what kind of match you have, but I do agree that Big E, you know, with Big E when he says like he has to, it has to end. You know, and maybe in this match Apollo Crews actually wins it, and that's how we get this match, this feud to continue to WrestleMania, is that Big E loses the Intercontinental Championship at Fastlane to Apollo Crews, and Apollo Crews goes into WrestleMania with the title, and that's really where Big E wins it back. You know, that would be fine. That would be great. But this was fantastic. Everything for the last couple of weeks, with the exception of the accent between Big E and Apollo Crews, has been phenomenal, and I've been enjoying it thoroughly. They're not fucking this up. This is actually very good. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Use the hashtag 3commentaries to support the channel, and also send cash via the Cash App, which will be in the comment section below. I thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.